Welcome back to another video and welcome to the inside of the Mazda CX-5. Now this is quite a special car because it's somehow always in that short list of cars that people are looking at when getting an SUV. So if they're looking at getting something new, the Mazda CX-5 is in that list. If they're looking at getting something pre-owned, the Mazda CX-5 is in that list. Now that's probably for a very good reason because this car's got a lot to offer and it's also pretty reasonably priced for what you're getting out of an SUV. So without further ado, let's get into the review of the Mazda CX-5. Now if there was any car that's keeping Mazda afloat from a month-to-month point of view, it's definitely this, the CX-5. And that's for a good reason because it's value for money, it looks good, it has quite a bit to offer, and it's Japanese. And people love Japanese cars. So if you're not looking at Toyota or Suzuki or not really Nissan anymore, other than those, you're probably going to be looking Mazda. So what's powering this Mazda CX-5? Well, under the hood we've got a naturally aspirated 2-litre 4-cylinder engine putting out 121 kilowatts and 213 newton meters of torque, which is not a lot of power at all, especially for an SUV, something that's a bit bigger. You know, it's going to weigh a lot more. So the power output of this engine isn't a lot, but weirdly, it delivers the power quite nicely. Now, you've also got, or it's mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now, this is also part of Mazda's bread and butter. So just like Suzuki's got their 1.5 litre naturally aspirated engine with either the 5-speed manual or the 4-speed auto, Mazda's also similar. They're generally going to throw this 2-litre into quite a lot of their cars, and it's going to normally always be mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission. And I think that they've got those two working together very nicely. So the way that this car is, the way that it's put together, the way that it drives, you don't actually notice that lack of power that we talk about. Now, if you are going to ask a lot of it and want to ferociously overtake people or decide to take on an uphill without having necessarily prepared for it, you are going to feel the lack of power. But generally, from a day-to-day point of view, it's going to pull off nicely because it's naturally aspirated. You don't have to wait for the turbos to build up boost and everything like that. You're going to pull off and you're just going to go. You're going to put your foot down and you've got those 213 newton meters. You've got enough under your foot there to get going, to overtake. I don't think you're going to feel too much of an issue with this engine. Yes, it could have a lot more power, but what it's got in here I think is okay. And then onto pricing and what the range offers. So I'm currently in the middle of the range version. This is the Dynamic, which sells for 601,000 Rand. But to get into the CX-5 range, you can look at the Active. And if you want to top out the range and get everything included, you're then going to look at the Carbon Edition. But I think that this is probably the best one of the bunch to get. So inside here, well, in all of them, you are also getting a digital infotainment. So you've got a screen over here, but also synonymous now with Mazda is that their screens are not touch screens. You have to operate them through the little dial over here, which is a nightmare, if I can say the least, right? It's not the best experience. You end up turning this dial to do absolutely everything, and without a touchscreen to simply just go and press it and carry on with your drive, I feel like this distracts you more than anything. So if there was one downfall of this car for me, it's going to be the infotainment not being touchscreen and having to use this these buttons and if you want to call it rotary dial for everything. But regardless, all of the cars get that, so that's not going to be or only going to come with this particular model. But other than that, you're getting Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, you're getting a reverse camera also with reverse park sensors. So you have got a little bit of safety built into that, but from a safety point of view, you aren't going to be getting anything more. So you don't have lane departure warning, you don't have lane keep assist, you don't have forward collision warning, you don't have adaptive cruise control, but you do have standard cruise control here. You've also got a very traditional driver's display, which I don't hate. I've always liked the analog dials. So that's okay. You've got a center one for your speed, the left one is for your revs, and then the right one over here is actually digital. So you've got a little digital one there that shows your temperature, your fuel, your range, your trip meter, and everything like that. So a lovely little display in front of the driver. I like that it's traditional with physical dials and a little bit of digital. Some other features that come part of the dynamic here is you do have keyless entry, you've got push button start, you've got folding mirrors, you've got electric seats, and I think the electric seats only for the driver, not for your passenger, but at least you've got that being the main driver of the car. You can get in, adjust your seat as you need, and hopefully keep it there because it doesn't have memory settings. But some things I think you might miss, which I don't think is a deal breaker. There's no sunroof or no panoramic sunroof, but that's okay. But another nice thing in here is you do have actual leather seats. So these aren't vinyl, they're actual leather steering wheel, and it's a lovely place to be in. I've always loved the way that a Mazda has been set up. It's very comfortable, you've got great build quality, almost always on par with what you're getting from the Germans, and probably sometimes better than some of the Germans. But inside here, you've got soft touch materials, you've got a stitched dash, you've got almost a metal looking detailing here on the front dash, but you've also got an actual climate control section. So you don't have to now dig through this infotainment with the stupid little rotary dial to get your climate control, because you can do that all down here, and it makes things very, very easy. So come here, change the temperatures, push the buttons, turn the dials. It's that simple. You've also got wireless phone charging, which is a nice touch in this particular model. And then coming down here, you've got your gear shifter for your 6-speed automatic, and then a mode here for sport and normal. So if you put it into sport, it's just going to tighten things up. It's going to dial the car in and just give you a little bit more power, or kind of make it a little bit more responsive, and obviously then use a bit more fuel because you're going to be revving more. You're also getting 2 cup holders, a nice little storage bin underneath here with USB Type-C, and 2 of them on the inside there. So that's nice and modern, and I love that they've included that. As mentioned, the steering wheel is also full leather, and you do have some shortcut buttons on the steering wheel too. So everything for your multimedia on this side and your Bluetooth phone calls, and then on this side here, you've got everything for your cruise control. Another nice feature here is that you do have automatic wipers as well as automatic headlights. So when it gets dark, they're going to come on, and when it starts raining, they're going to automatically wipe that window. Unfortunately, this doesn't come with the very cool Bose sound system, but in this dynamic model, you are still getting a pretty good and pretty decent sound system. I think you're going to have probably about 6 speakers in here, if I look correctly. I may need to be corrected, but if I do need to be, I'll put it on screen. And then let's talk practicality. So up front here, you do have the 2 cup holders, as I've mentioned. You've also got a little bit of storage space just there by the wireless phone charging. Your door bins are also an okay size. You can fit a nice decent water bottle, and you've got a glove box, which isn't that big, but you've still got some storage in there. And then in the back, your passengers will also be pretty happy with the space. Now, there's not a lot of room there, but this is in my driving position, and the space is okay. I probably would like a little bit more in an SUV. If I had to compare it to something very similar to this, like the Ford Territory, I had heaps of space in that back seat, and there's significantly less in here compared to that Ford. So you might want to think about that. And then looking at the boot, and the boot is also a decent size. It's not majorly big, it's also not small, but I think that it matches the overall size of this car, so the boot is okay. And then onto the exterior, which for me is one of this car's best selling points because it looks absolutely gorgeous. I love the new design that Mazda's taken on, the lights that integrate into that big grille. It looks sporty, it looks modern, it looks Japanese, it looks sharp, it looks very considered, and I think that they've done an absolutely amazing job with the design of this car, and especially in this red. Now, Mazda makes an incredible red. It's called Soul Red, and this is in the crystal form of that, so I think it's called Soul Crystal Red, or whatever the case is. I'll also put that on screen for the actual name, but no other car maker, in my opinion, makes a red that's this good. Now, it looks like it's glowing during the day, it's super reflective at night. It's just incredible. If I could choose a color for any Mazda, if I had to buy one, this would be it. Now, this particular dynamic model doesn't come with those really nice looking daytime running lights, except you've got little plastic inserts for where those running lights would be to make it look like it's part of that range, but unfortunately it doesn't have that. But you do at least still have those LED rear tail lights there at the back to make your car look extra modern from the rear. This has also been equipped with the 19-inch wheels, and I think that they also look good. They match the dark tones of the red, so the black and dark inserts of those wheels do definitely match the spec of this car very nicely. Now, if you're in the market for a Mazda CX-5 or any Mazda, then please go check one out on changecars.co.za. They're a website that sells new and used cars, but the best thing about them is that they vet and check every single dealership that sells cars on their website. So they know exactly who they are, what they're selling, so they're always in control of the quality of cars being sold to their customers. Their website is also like a hub for everything automotive. So you can go and watch car reviews, you can read articles, you can even do financial things, like going to see what you can afford per month using their finance calculator, as well as bring them quotes from dealerships that aren't on Change Cars. And not only will they match the quote, but they'll beat it too. So a lot of cool things happening at changecars.co.za, and also a proud partner of Greg Dennis Reviews. Now, before we move on to the verdict, let's talk about fuel consumption. Now, I thought this would be quite high, but I've been pleasantly surprised with what I've got so far. Now, I've been able to drive, let's say, from the airport or from the East Rand back to Sandton side, and this is the fuel consumption that I was able to achieve from that journey. My overall fuel consumption is sitting at 8, which I don't think is too bad for a naturally aspirated engine, especially a 2-liter lugging around a car of this size. So I'm pretty happy with that, and the drive that I'm currently doing now for this review is sitting at about 7.3. So I think the fuel consumption is pretty good, and you should be able to get some decent kilometers out of a tank of fuel. So yeah, pretty happy with that. And then onto the verdict in the form of the GDR test. Should you get it, drive it, or remove it from the list of cars that you're looking at? Now for me, I would say go and get it. If you're in the market for an SUV of this nature, then I don't think you're going to go wrong with the Mazda CX-5. It's going to hold its value well. It drives very nicely. It's got a very comfortable driving position. You've got a good ground clearance. It manages the road and the imperfections very well. So the suspension is also quite nice too. There's a lot going on here. It's comfortable. You've got leather seats. But most importantly for me is that it looks incredibly good. So go and get this Mazda CX-5. I know that you probably won't regret it. So thanks for watching this review on the Mazda CX-5. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a little bit more about the CX-5, and I was able to help you in any purchasing decision that you were making. Now if you did, please will drop a like below, and if you want to see more videos like this and other car related content, then please subscribe. And until then, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.